Yes, Nurse Crane? How can I help you?
I'm so sorry. I know Dr. Swansea wanted you to rest, but we have somewhat of a crisis.
A crisis, you say?
Our supply of antiseptics is nearly depleted.
What type of hospital are you running?
You have been away too long, Doctor. With the war and now this epidemic, supplies have been running scarce for months now.
I may have a solution. In France, during the war, drugs shortage was a daily problem, and we had to use our wits.
However do you mean?
If combined correctly, certain household chemical products can be used in a pinch instead. Now, where's the hospital storeroom?
The storeroom? Fat chance. This is the Pembroke, and space is luxury we don't have.
Perhaps I should look there first. Where is this morgue?
It's the large building behind the hospital. You'll need to go in the back door because it's been sealed off for sanitary reasons. Take this key. It opens a small back entrance at the end of a narrow street.
The abandoned morgue behind the hospital. It's locked. Good evening, Nurse.
Good evening, Doctor. I don't think we've been introduced yet.
And I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed. Dr. Swansea has recently offered me a position in this hospital.
Well, it's a euphemism that your help will be appreciated, Doctor.
How would you describe the situation at the Pembroke Hospital?
It's serious. The flu is wreaking havoc amongst the staff and patients. We are running out of everything.
Nurse Hawkins, the Spanish flu won't last forever. Even the Black Plague didn't kill everyone.
I wish I could believe you. But what if this epidemic was worse? What if in the end, nobody was spared?
You must get a hold of yourself, Nurse.
Sorry, I'm exhausted. No one has any idea when this epidemic will be over.
How long have you been a nurse?
Well, long enough to see that the epidemic is winning. And no matter how qualified you are, don't tell me you'll change that.
You're right. When dealing with such a...
Sorry.
How is the Pembroke staff coping with the epidemic?
Well, not well. Milton, the ambulance driver, is even more grumpy than usual.
Why is Milton grumpy on a daily basis?
Milton's not the kind of man who's bothered about a bad reputation, whether he deserved it or...
Why does Milton dislike doctors?
I don't know. Just ask him. But be warned, Milton is not the chat...
Goodbye.
Yes, Doctor?
Exactly how bad is the supply situation?
It really depends. Dr. Swansea deftly works his society contacts for...
Please, could you point me in the direction of the morgue again?
It's the large boarded-up building behind the hospital. You can't miss it.
Please, could you...
It's the large boarded...
Why then do you always work the nights?
At the Pembroke, we're always hands on deck.
Lack of sleep and the medical profession always ends in dis...
London's trenches start here at Pembroke Hospital.
Your dedication to the Pembroke does you credit, Nurse Crane, but when do you...
We staff get our sleep when we can, Doctor.
That's all.
You always knew the words to calm the children, Ellen. As for me, what a blundering idiot.
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reed. I believe we're going to be colleagues.
Reed? Yes, I've been informed about your arrival. I'm Waverly Ackroyd. Welcome aboard, I suppose.
Does my arrival inconvenience you in some way, Dr. Ackroyd?
Let us just say that I don't particularly share Dr. Swansea's enthusiasm for hiring you. What we need here are reliable professionals, not overrated dabblers.
If you have a problem with me, Dr. Ackroyd, please feel free to tell me.
Dr. Swansea has imposed your presence on this hospital without asking anyone's advice. The benefit of his position. But I don't agree with it.
I know we've never met before, but I believe this hospital could use all the help it can get. You will agree with that, I'm sure.
Oh, but I have heard about you, Dr. Reed. Of course, you can't say the same about me, since I have not wasted my time courting the press.
There is no need for such animosity between us. Don't you think the epidemic is already enough to deal with?
That is one point we could agree on. And that is precisely why I want to be sure that you will be of help to this hospital, instead of a burden.
Since your tenure in this hospital is longer than mine, perhaps you can tell me more about this place.
Let's just say I'm tired of the carelessness around me. I have always respected the skills of Dr. Swansea, but over time his enthusiasm has become displaced.
Carelessness? Exactly what are you talking about?
We're here to save lives. The people who trust us are not volunteering for experimentation. They're here to be healed.
I don't intend to run any radical experiments, Doctor. Even if I, as any good practitioner should, express an interest in pushing the boundaries of medical research.
Modern medical methods were created through audacity and ego. But there are rules in our line of work, and they're here to protect our patients.
I don't know what you've heard about me, but I have already proved my value as a practitioner.
I don't question your skills, Dr. Reed, but your motive. Is it money, fame, or are you truly dedicated?
And what exactly is that supposed to mean?
I served in the war just like you. But unlike you, I did not use the wounded to play the modern sorcerer.
Be careful what you insinuate, Dr. Ackroyd.
I only want you to admit you used those men to improve your theories.
Knowledge has always been and will remain our main weapon, and it has always come at a price. And personal initiative.
It is not a question of initiative, it is a question of integrity. These men and women have put their faith in us, Dr. Reed.
It seems you have bad memories of your military service.
I refuse to see this industrial slaughter as scientific progress. War only reveals the worst in men.
We can at least agree on something, Dr. Ackroyd. Thank you for your time. We'll talk later. Good evening, sir.
I don't know if a third opinion is needed.
I see. Would you mind telling me more about your...
I'm Harvey Fiddick. All I want is to get me bloody arm fixed properly.
Tell me about yourself.
I'm just a regular guy waiting to get his arm fixed, so I can return to work.
I was more curious about what you were doing before being hospitalized.
I'm a carpenter.
Are you satisfied with your treatment here?
Well, it's clear that
I won't lie to you about it. I'm afraid...
Are you sure you don't want to operate yourself, Dr. Reed?
In other circumstances, you would be right. But for now, I don't think I can take... Tell me about the doctors who are arguing about your case.
Strickland and Ackroyd.
What do you mean?
I often had professional arguments with rivals on a building site. Difference is,
Good.
Sweet girl. Reads me like a book. Could keep anything from her.
Good evening, Doctor. I believe we're going to... Dr. Reed. Dr. Swansea informed us... Thank you. And you are?
I am Thoreau Strickland, Dr. Thoreau Strickland.
Please, could you tell me something about yourself?
I'm a great admirer of your work concerning blood transfusion.
I based my technique on my mentor's research.
I'd rather not talk about it. For now, it's just...
As long as you're cautious and methodical, you may remain empty-handed.
You're not the first one to warn me, but I am convinced knowledge is the main...
What made you choose to be a doctor?
I'm not ashamed to admit you and your work have inspired me. I am honored to...
It's always a pleasure to share scientific and medical knowledge.
This epidemic may be the century's most terrible disaster.
What do you think of Dr. Ackroyd's
It's a shame he's so narrow-minded. Dr. Swansea taught me that science is about exploring...
With the influenza and all that's going on.
I believe that if Dr. Ackroyd had been the one to discover the transfusion process, he would be the first to recommend...
So you believe it's just a question of jealousy?
Dr. Ackroyd is as proud as he is...
What can you tell me about...
Well, it has always been an honor to work with Dr. Swansea.
Do you need help with anything in particular?
Well, yes, maybe.
Do you want me to play the errand boy for you? I see. Well, give me the address, for I... You seem quite optimistic. It's a rare and precious attitude in these...
I'm convinced that this epidemic is a test of endurance and dedication for us men of science.
Questions remain.
True. Last summer, during the first wave of the epidemic, I used to joke with Milton.
Tell me more about your willingness to experiment with new medical...
Harvey Fiddick is a patient suffering from a severe injury.
What is it you really want?
Just a fair question. I want nothing.
Tell me Mr. Fiddick's story.
Our first diagnosis was compromised because
But why would he hide such crucial information from us?
Because he is a proud father.
This personal involvement could also appear to be a lack of impartiality.
I agree. But that does not excuse Dr. Ackroyd's behavior. A man who did not even take time to converse with...
Do you think keeping his distance was a mistake?
All I know is that I'm taking care of...
Goodbye. Good evening, madam. Can I help?
It's my son who needs you, sir.
I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed.
I'm Beatrice Goswick, mother of Mortimer Goswick. Could you check on him, please, Dr. Reed? I've heard much of your
What can you tell me about yourself, Mrs. Goswick?
Not much to say.
Are you really that rich?
Yes, thanks to my husband.
May I ask if you have an occupation, Mrs. Goswick?
I'm a teacher by profession. I teach young women who are...
What do you think of your reception here? Any complaints?
I have had the uttermost reservations about this hospital.
Is there something in particular that's bothering you?
Some of the staff were not especially welcoming. I suspect they're not accustomed to deal...
Tell me more about your arrival at the Pembroke Hospital. What gave you such a bad...
The ambulance driver was quite rude, for a start.
What do you mean?
She managed to secure a bed for my son despite...
She charged you for a bed?
Yes, and I paid without question.
I share your concern, Mrs. Goswick. Be sure that I'll...
I don't expect compensation, Dr. Reed. But I'm aware such behavior would not...
Goodbye, Miss... Good evening.
No,
Really? Why are you here, then?
I don't want to talk. My throat hurts too much.
I suppose that this pain is the reason you're here.
Yes. And no.
Could you at least tell me your name, sir?
More.
How painful is your throat, Mr. Goswick?
So painful I'd rather not talk.
I'm sure you realize a doctor and his patient have to communicate, sir. Would it help if I gave you some paper?
Not really.
I see. Then maybe it's not just your...
Yes, maybe. But I don't want to talk or even...
How painful is your throat, Mr. Goswick?
So painful I'd rather not talk at all, Doctor.
I'll let you get...
Good evening.
Good...
I'm okay.
Why did your mother have you hospitalized?
My mother just wants the best for me.
Pembroke Hospital may look unorthodox, but rest assured...
It's not me you have to convince, Dr. Reed.
Is your mother bothering you?
That's tempting, Doctor. But you have no...
How
So painful.
Tell me about yourself, Mr. Goswick.
I don't want to talk, Doc.
I have to go.
I'm all right. Don't waste your time with me.
Sweet girl. Sure we're making a difference.
Good evening, miss.
Your name has no meaning to me, mortal.
I beg your pardon.
What are you begging for, mortal? My clemency? Well,
You keep calling me mortal. Why is that?
well, Dr. Reed, if you must know.
And why do you believe you're a vampire?
I don't need to believe anything.
Please, describe to me how you feel.
I can hear my body crumble from the inside as my flesh cracks and fades.
I see. Have you ever heard of Cotard syndrome, Miss Hope?
Never.
It's a mental illness discovered by a French...
Delusional, you say? Oh, sad and petty.
I'm assuming you...
It's only a cover to hide from my enemy.
Who are these enemies you mentioned? Can you describe them?
I cannot say for sure. But I sent...
The staff here are not your enemy. They're...
I'm not speaking of the doctors in white. I'm speaking of...
I see. Don't worry.
Thank you, mortal, but do not interfere with them, for you are no match for...
Who are you really, Miss Howcroft?
Is that not enough for you, puny mortal?
I'm curious to know who you were.
No, it was such a long time ago, I don't remember. Centuries of...
I'll leave you. Good evening, sir. Can I help?
Unless you're here to fix my face.
I'm Dr. Reed. I've recently taken the position of head surgeon here.
You guessed right, Doctor.
How is your stay with us, Mr. Elwood?
Oh, it's bliss. I just escaped death.
Can I ask you precisely why you're a patient here?
It's the pains.
Can I do anything for your pain?
Nurse.
Who is treating you? Is someone...
Nobody since the old and tired doctor spoke to me.
You don't seem worried by that.
If...
Why do you feel responsible for the injury, Thomas? What really happened?
I wasn't disfigured by any German shells.
Why lie about it?
Come on. It's one thing to come...
Beauty is...
Says Mr. Pretty Face.
Tell me what really happened then. Did you start the fire? Were you...
No. It's just...
Where were you stationed, sir?
I really don't want to...
No offense. I was...
You were an officer, weren't you?
How close are you to Miss Hallcroft? Are you aware...
To wait for her next nibble is the best reason.
Aren't you afraid? She may hurt you.
She's quite harmless, I can assure you.
So do you let her bite you? You know that's not...
And why not? She's only supping...
She could decide to bite less.
Then it's another good reason for me to stay here, Doctor.
You do realize she's mentally disturbed.
In her madness, she never refers...
Goodbye for now, Mr. Elwood.
Damn. The pain. Here again.
Good evening, Mr. Hampton. How do you...
Dr. Reed, is it? Oh, sorry, I must...
What do you mean?
I was not myself in the factory. Fear and exhaustion.
You remained perfectly nice and polite.
Thank you, Doctor. That's a relief. Now all I need to do...
How did you end up in William Bishop's den?
I had received alarming news about his recent death.
Why did he abduct you?
William was an alcoholic. His addiction suddenly...
You dared to enter this awful place.
I'm just a man trying to help his friends, Dr. Reed. William Bishop would...
Do you know Tom Watts, the bartender?
Tom? Yes, of course. Always the helping hand.
People are still in despair.
How could it be otherwise? The authorities have left us.
Who should I avoid in this part of town, then?
Not really. Most men and women are just doing their best.
What is the general situation?
The situation has always been tough, with a lot of
Who leads the gang?
Since Clay Cox went missing, it's his wife Edwina who runs the show, with the assistance of her minion.
Has the gang been threatened?
Ah, no. I've had this nickname for...
What do you do for a living, Mr. Hampton?
I manage a night asylum for the poor and homeless of the...
Are you a priest?
Not at all, Doctor. I'm just a man of faith.
Why didn't you use your cross against William Bishop?
That's a very strange question, Doctor.
How do you feel, Mr. Hampton?
I feel exhausted. Beyond exhausted.
You're in good hands here.
Thank you, sir. I believe...
Have you made friends since you arrived?
Not really. But I recognize Miss
You never came to see her here.
You're preaching to the converted now, Doctor.
Goodbye, Mr. It's locked, all right.
I have wasted too much energy for so little result.
Thelma Howcroft said she was being watched by vampire hunters. Good evening. I'm Dr.
Always a pleasure to meet a colleague, sir.
A colleague?
Not anymore, sir. I used to...
What do you mean? You used to be a doctor?
No, sir. It is just that I like...
Are you afraid or uneasy being surrounded by so many corpses?
Why should I? These bodies are empty...
An interesting point of view. And quite an exotic one, too. Most people...
Sir, as a medic during the war, I learned to face my...
How did you get this job?
After I left the army, I worked as an undertaker down by the...
Do you work here alone?
Yes, very easy work, sir. All I have to do is watch a few bodies. The situation was very different when the main morgue was still open.
Why do you have to watch these bodies?
Because these...
Why close the hospital's main morgue?
It was for sanitary reasons after the beginning of the epidemic. Cadavers had to be moved.
Have we met before?
I don't think so, sir. Why?
When we first...
Funny story, sir. Your sister came here a few nights ago.
A pawnbroker? I expect you get...
Yes, sir. All kind of people. For us...
Who comes here to trade with you? It's very...
I'm very cautious, sir.
What kind of goods?
With the quarantine, it's not always easy to buy things. So I trade.
Since you're not afraid of dying, do you believe in life after death, Rakesh? Do you think you would enjoy immortality?
I don't think so. Don't mistake me.
Do you really believe goodwill?
As I said, sir, everything...
Quite depressing, wouldn't you say?
Yes. But the good news is...
So you're ready to die?
No.
You're a wise man, Mr. Chidana.
No, Dr. Reed. I am a foolish man.
Please show...
Of course.
It's locked.
How can I be sure I'll not find your unconscious body in the house again?
I promise you, you'll not find my unconscious body.
For God's sake, how can you say such a thing?
How can you refuse to listen? I tried to warn you for so long.
No, I won't let my only son die. You promised me you'll stay alive.
Your son lied to you, like the whole world lies to us.
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Jonathan.
I've already heard about you, Dr. Reed. I'm Milton Hooks.
That's quite a blunt introduction, Mr.
You can call me Milton. I like to speak my...
I'm not sure I understand what you're talking about.
Well, I'm no doctor, but I'm pretty sure a gun can't be...
You have a keen eye. I learned to...
No need to explain, Dr. Reed. And if you ever...
How is the situation around here?
You want to hear the situation is all right?
Are you really smuggling weapons through the hospital?
And why not?
But you're not defending yourself. You're selling guns to civilians.
You keep people alive your own way, Doctor.
So what do you do exactly in this hospital?
I've been an ambulance driver since... too long, I guess.
Since you're on the front line, how is the
It's a complete disaster. It's even getting dangerous to...
It sounds like things have been a bit rough recently. What?
Yesterday I got attacked by the patient I was bringing here.
You left an infected patient outside the hospital. That's incredibly dangerous.
Go there yourself if you want, but be careful, Doctor. I'd rather not bring your dead body back.
Why do you have such a mediocre reputation among your colleagues, Milton?
Fuck them. Nobody knows the horrors I've seen since working here. This city was sick long before...
I know it's a difficult task, but correct me if I'm wrong. Is this not the job you are paid to do?
I've seen babies left...
I'm sorry, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, exact. Wise choice, Dr. Reed.
Good evening, Milton.
Good evening, Doctor.
I'd like to see your...
Wise choice, Doctor.
Good evening, nurse. I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed, the new surgeon here at the Pembroke.
Dr. Swansea has already told us about you, sir. I'm Nurse Gwyneth Brannigan. Welcome to the Pembroke Hospital.
Did he really? It's a good thing I wasn't hoping to keep a low profile.
All members of staff have already read about your new blood transfusion technique. Dr. Swansea made sure of that.
I see. Well, I'm a little surprised, but I suppose I'll just have to deal with this unexpected notoriety.
You must know, blood transfusions are Dr. Swansea's primary subject of research. He is convinced it is the future.
How are things here?
Not good, to say the least. We're struggling against an invisible enemy, more lethal than...
An invisible enemy?
Sorry, Doctor. These last few weeks...
Do you think this hospital can survive the epidemic?
We are all volunteers here, and we're trying to hold fast, but... how do we beat an invisible killer? Some nurses have already resigned.
I'm not familiar with all the staff yet.
Brilliant professionals, most of them. Doctor...
Most of them? Is there a problem?
It would be inappropriate for me to speak ill of a colleague.
Is there anyone that...
Well, I have never met someone...
Why should his age be a problem?
I guess it's fair to say he's always...
Nurse Brannigan, if you do know something, please...
No. I may disagree with some conduct, but in the end, everybody is doing their best.
Goodbye, nurse.
Perhaps I should have considered the offer.
Good evening, sir.
So it is true. The famous Dr. Reed has joined us. I can't think of any better news during these terrible times.
Do we know each other?
Actually, yes. We met once before, at the Rockefeller University in New York.
Dr. Tippett, yes, I remember. I was assisting Professor Carell in his research about...
He was also very confident about your future. And look at...
What is the Pembroke Hospital situation?
This hospital is not exactly the best of London. I'm sure you are used to working in a better...
It's more than enough.
Don't be misled by appearances, Doctor.
You're exhausting yourself, Corcoran.
No. We must keep on healing all those...
Nurse Brannigan is worried.
She should not have told you that.
You don't have to blame her for her honor.
I'm not that kind of man, my dear Jonathan.
What can you tell me about the staff in the...
Some are really good, and others are not so good.
Any opinion about them?
I don't always agree with Dr. Swansea's reserve, but I must admit...
Ah, yes, the burden of command.
Don't get me wrong. Swansea's a good administrator.
Tell me more about cherished people, then.
Nurse...
You really seem to admire...
I'll go even further. If she was a man, she would be a...
Goodbye, Doc.
Please, sir. I need help.
What's going on?
I'm Blight, sir. Newton...
I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed, from the Pembroke Hospital.
Oswald and myself were both infantry, sir.
How long have you been searching for him?
I can't go there.
Don't be ashamed, Mr. Blight. Many soldiers who survived... What can you tell me?
I'm Oswald's best friend.
This is a dangerous part of town. What are you doing here?
We were looking for the Pembroke Hospital.
Where was your friend the last time you saw him? What can you tell me about your friend?
His name is
I have all the...
Thank you, Doc.
Not yet.
All right. Thank you.
Scowl voices in the garden. I should investigate. If they were to find somebody... So, Mr. Hooks and Nurse Hawkins are an item. Those two have hidden their affections well. Balls of Mars, fortifiers. As popular as they are ineffective. But they do contain iron tartrate, and that might prove itself useful. Behavior is similar to the infected William Bishop. Must be the same strain. This sickness moves faster than influenza. This key will surely grant me access to the basement. It's locked, all right. These scowls feed from corpses and the husks of animals. They're not after blood. Mr. Connor's injuries don't match the report. I'd better look into this. Traces of a pinkish foam? The chest was originally opened to perform the operation. A puncture over the left lung, possibly a chest tube insertion. Not the cleanest work, but I think it was. Signs of internal bleeding. So, Dr. Tippett has made an egregious error. It's time we talked. Tippett has made an It's locked, all right. It's locked, all right. It's locked, all right. These scowls can be so ferocious. I'm not sure I can defeat them without becoming stronger. To drink blood is so tempting. It's locked. It's locked.
Lively! Bloody leech!
It's one of them!
Bloody crime!
Christ! He's dead!
Back in the grave! Shit! You're mine!
Yes, Doctor?
That's...
My sweet girl. Reads me like a book. Never could keep anything from her.
Good evening, Miss.
I'm okay.
Admit?
Yes, it's true.
All right, then. This is the first time...
Call it what you want, Dr. Reed.
You can trust me.
I guess I should thank you, then.
Can I help you?
I wrote a letter for my mother.
I see. And is this...
Yes.
I have...
I'm all right. Don't waste your time with me.
I will not let you down, my boy.
Good evening.
You may lack the resources, but we have some of the most brilliant minds in London.
were more of us, with less resignation.
Good
and
evening,
more
Milton.
Good evening, Doctor.
I have some good news, Milton.
What? The epidemic?
I retrieved your wallet.
Well, yeah, Pippa Hawkins is my girl. So what?
Not at all, Milton.
Good. Please, take this money and...
What's going on between you?
Pippa's tired. Tired of all...
During the war,
Maybe you're right. But we
You do realize...
Come on, Dr. Reed. Do you know... Wise choice, Dr. Reed. A reliable...
Good evening, Milton.
Good evening, Doctor. Still trying to save...
I'd like...
Wise choice, Doctor.
Good evening,
Dr. Reed, any good...
Corcoran, I want you to tell me about Mr. Connor.
He was my patient. He died.
What was the name?
It was a twofold error. My diagnosis...
Who was this patient? Why not stop?
Are you mad? I killed that man.
Goodbye.
Another night with the glorious battalion of Pembroke.
Surely I can endure night.
Good evening.
Good evening, Doctor.
Why does Dr. Tippett's claim you're the...
If it wasn't for him, I probably would have...
Dr. Tippett does not think of you as just...
If you're suggesting he's not taking my gender into consideration...
Tell me what Dr. Tippett...
If I had not covered up his error, Dr.
You can't allow your emotion...
Look around you, Dr. Reed. Do you...
I can't say I approve of what...
I'm not proud of what I've done, but to...
I've decided that I won't reveal Dr. Tippett.
I'm so glad you share my point of view.
I hope you're right. This is a...
Dr. Tippett must regain his confidence. Please.
Goodbye.
We are overwhelmed by this horrifying... epidemic.
In this letter, Mortimer Goswick does nothing to hide his desire to die. I could give it to his mother, but doing so would betray his trust. It's locked, all right. Good evening.
Dr. Reed. Still working it.
And why is that?
People who don't sleep at night always seem more...
Do you ever think about that poor...
The wound he gave me will make sure...
That man was determined to murder you.
What a surprise. The first time I met him...
What did he want? Revenge?
I recently had to kill it.
Only the strongest survive, then?
I'm the toughest bastard you'll ever meet, Dr. Reed.
How is your...
This is a shitty place with shitty staff.
What's wrong with the hospital?
Come on, Dr. Reed. The place is...
But you're alive thanks to the efforts and dedication...
What are you expecting, a medal?
What's wrong with...
That bastard you sent to bring me here, Milton. I thought he...
I see.
The nurses aren't too ugly. Especially that fuck.
Am I right to assume your wife...
I was so mad, I threw away the knife she got me when we got married.
Your wife gave you a knife?
That knife has always been my lucky charm. If...
A lucky charm? I never...
We all have our flaws, Doc.
Do you want it back?
I don't need it here, but if you...
A grateful Clay Cox?
I can give you directions, but I'll be surprised.
What can you tell me about...
Marriage is the sweetest cage, they say. Well, I found myself locked in...
You mean your wife keeps you on your toes?
No, I mean, we both have...
How long do you think you can escape the law, Clay?
I know this city like the back of my hand, Doc.
We can't escape the consequences of our...
I ain't afraid of death.
And who are you, then?
I'm the leader of the Wet Boot Boys.
I'll lead... Good evening, Mr. Goswick.
I'm okay.
I have retrieved your letter, Miss...
Thank you.
I think you should talk to your mother.
Thank you, Doctor...
I've read your letter, Mortimer.
There's nothing more to say, really.
Despair is a deadly poison.
I know that perfectly, Doctor. I'm all right. Don't waste your time with me.
Good evening.
Your son wished to die, Beatrice.
Are you not aware suicide is a crime?
I understand you fear the legal consequences.
All my son needs is help and comprehension.
Mortimer is extreme.
As you say, Mortimer had...
What do you think he meant by making the...
Mortimer has always been a sensitive soul.
Why did your son...
I think it was more that he could only see the
Do you realize your son could try to kill himself?
I think about it every minute.
You're right.
I can't give...
I have...
He threatened to kill himself a few times before.
Punish you?
I've known for a long time he was not happy.
Goodbye. Good evening.
I'm okay.
Your mother won't...
No.
Won't you even try?
Do you...
Your mother...
No.
Won't you even...
Do you want me to
I have to...
Good evening, sir. Doctor.
weapons ready! We found one! Lee spotted! Watch out, guys!
This must be Clay Cox's knife. A fine blade. No wonder he wants it back.
See them fancy clothes? This one's a top!
Hey, Doc.
I have found the...
In that case, you'll be...
I hope that won't make me an accomplice to...
Who knows what I might do now
I'll leave. Good evening.
Good evening, Doc. Wise choice.
The flower's dying. It needs water.
Daily routine.
I wonder why the Goswicks came in.
How long?
Finally, you've returned, Doctor. Did you find anything of value?
Yes, nurse.
You've worked your first miracle, Doctor. Now, this patient...
Duty calls. When the storm has passed, I'll...
Many thanks, Doctor.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Miss...
I'm okay.
Do you need any...
I'm afraid I may, sir.
You are not a burden.
And you have my gratitude.
I have...
I'm all right. Don't waste your time with me.
Please, Jonathan, come in. Fascinating, is it not? In the last decade, so many mysteries have been brought to light with our microscopes. The human body, biology's penultimate frontier. The more we explore its boundaries, the less we're able to trace a clear line between life and death. You, my friend, have a foot in both countries. The view must be vertiginous.
It's at least as vertiginous as chatting about vampires with you, I would say.
This must be all so new to you. This area of town, the hospital, a brand new life. How stimulating it must be.
I wish I could share your enthusiasm, Dr. Swansea. But my condition defies scientific categorization. Undead? Unalive? Immortality defies logic.
I cannot express my thrill at this serendipitous turn of events. The world's most eminent specialist in blood transfusions, a vampire. One might say a
It may seem
Forgive me. I've been an admirer of your work for a long time, and now you are so much more than a brilliant physician. And please.
There is no need to apologize, Edgar. You...
Very well. I have a task for you, John.
Please, go on.
The Pembroke only survives through the generosity of our benefactors. Unfortunately, our main donor has...
A spokesman or politician is...
Discretion is in order, Jonathan.
And you would like me to eradicate this threat?
By the stole, of course not.
Accepted. I'll see what kind of trouble Lady Ashbury...
Do you need...
I have just...
Then ask her...
You mentioned something about a secret society.
Certainly. I've been a member of the Brother...
That explains your nightly
I feel it wasn't mere coincidence that led us to that.
Yet you don't fear me.
The Brotherhood has studied your kind for centuries.
Since I'm the one working for you, what should I know about Pembroke?
Well, for many years, we have been the only medical facility in this part of town that people can rely on. We support the community here, as well as provide health.
Where do we stand today?
Oh,
What do you expect of me?
What we need is hope.
Since you seem quite the expert on vampires.
As men of science, our first step is...
The sun. The more...
You will find there is very little that can kill a vamp.
Must I take...
You are a vampire.
The man we pursued and slew in the canning factory.
He was a Skald, technically speaking.
Where do...
The name means slave. The etymology...
Just for clarity, what differences are there between myself and a Skald?
A Skald is easier to eliminate, Jonathan, even if they remain formidable foes for the unprepared. Vampires... Now, vampires exist...
We'll see each other.
The flu took my dear wife, Emily. I take comfort knowing we'll soon be together again.
Mr. Rainfield, that's no way to talk. You're in good hands here, and we'll be up again soon enough. Now do me a kindness and get some sleep. I'll be back round later.
Your words are kind, the blessings of an angel. You're the sweet, sweet Lady of Mercy.
Good evening, Dr. Reed. It's a pleasure to see you again. You seem surprised. Dr. Swansea has brought me up to speed concerning your recent appointment to Pembroke Hospital.
You're a the lady who saved me that night, before vanishing into thin air. I remember you from the pub with Dr. Swansea.
Indeed. Allow me to introduce myself formally this time. My name is Lady Ashbury. I remember you well, in spite of the brevity of our encounter.
Apologies. You've taken me by surprise.
The pleasure is mine, Doctor.
I hope you're more disposed to answer.
You must have countless questions.
Pardon my boldness, Your Ladyship, but I have questions.
As a newborn, your hunger for...
I'm a scientist. My trade is in the deciphering of mysteries, and I need information to feed my mind.
I will gladly answer every question you have, but first, prove yourself...
Have any of the patients given you trouble?
These poor souls have so little left to live for. I do my best to ease their pain.
The world would be a better place if it were cared for by women.
You make me blush. I am simply...
Dr. Swansea has commissioned me to be your agent in this matter. You could start by explaining what's amiss.
These past insufferable weeks.
What are your expectations?
As the newly appointed surgeon of this hospital...
Who would be so foolish as to threaten you?
Even if it were the case, and I highly doubt it,
If we're dealing with an ordinary criminal, surely you've the means to deal with it yourself, if I may.
As a mortal tradition...
Please continue. Every detail is essential.
My embarrassment in this matter is eclipsed only by my shame.
I'll take care of it. Do you know...
If that was the case, I'd settle the matter myself.
I'll meet that woman now.
My life, as others know, is in...
What is this?
There's no need for alarm, madam. I'm Dr. Reed, the new surgeon.
Preposterous. Dr. Reed, you say?
Please, calm down, madam. I assure you that I am highly...
How brave. Threatening an old defenseless woman. You know how long I've been a patient here. You've picked the wrong fight.
Harriet Jones. Indeed. I've been meaning to have a chat with you. You know what goes on here better than any other patient, I gather.
Oh, better than any patient, nurse, or doctor. I've seen so many vile undertakings.
I heard there have been some despicable goings-on.
Blackmail? Wait.
If I didn't know better, Miss Jones, I'd be inclined to say you enjoy this type of idle...
God's honest truth, Doctor. It's just the way it is here.
You seem to know more about the goings-on here than anyone else.
That's it. Blame the old and infirm. I see those...
I assure you, madam, this is not an investigation into a possible...
Debauchery, then? Nurses Crane.
Really? Well, if you have irrefutable...
This is your business, Doctor, not mine.
Thank you for your time, Miss Jones. You... Miss Now...
Well...
Have you noticed any suspicious comings or goings?
It would be a great deal easier to make a list of things and...
Everyone here is very capable. I have not seen any instances of...
Thieves and murderers, the lot. People have gone missing.
Come now, Miss Jones. Surely it's not that...
Have you no eyes? This hospital accepts all...
If you could just tell me why...
It's terrible, Doctor. What with a pain in my chest...
I see.
No one comes to visit, you know.
I'll come and visit... The patients and staff might know something. I'll start my investigation with them. Good evening, Nurse Hawkins.
Good evening, Dr. Reed.
Pepper, I know you're...
Yes? Milton Hooks...
I have no intention of report...
The rules say I won't be allowed to work as a nurse anymore. But...
Is he worth the risk?
Hey, I'm no perfect woman.
What can you tell me about the strange man?
Let me guess. You spoke with that old shrew, Harriet Jones.
No matter how you feel about her, Miss Jones deserves our help.
Who says I don't care for her? Hate is what keeps that old crone alive.
She could have been telling the truth about the mysterious man.
That old witch will end up in hell soon enough. Who ca-
What can you...
Let me guess.
Goodbye. Good evening, Nurse Brannigan.
Good evening, Doctor.
Do you know if any of
The people...
Have you...
I've never heard of such a thing, Doctor.
Goodbye.
Don't worry, we're safe.
You're sure you don't come back with me?
Nah, I have to see someone at the hospital.
Be careful. You look so bad they may keep you as a patient.
Fuck 'em. I don't like hospitals. Or doctors.
Well then, when you go back to Whitechapel, you may find this useful.
What is it?
A pass for a free medical exam by the best nurse available. Just read it.
I don't read well, but thank you, I guess.
He's locked the door behind him. I need to find another way to follow him. This man has been savagely attacked and dragged to the floor. Are you in...
Help me get out of here. I need to...
I'm Dr. Reed, and I'd be glad...
Okay.
Mr. Thatcher, your friend Newton said...
Yes, I do.
Good. Now leave this... Are you Are you...
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm doing this. What sort of creature is this? Here's what's left of him. Not a lot to check, but I should. Some voucher for a free checkup in Whitechapel. What is Nurse Crane up to? I really must find her. Are you sure you're all right?
Yeah.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'd like...
Wise choice, Doc. Good evening.
Goodbye.
Another night with the glorious Prince.
The flower's dying. It needs water. Good evening.
Good evening, Doctor.
Do you need
I'm afraid I've contracted some illness, Dr. Reed.
Not under my watch.
Thank you, Dr. Reed.
Goodbye.
Good evening.
Do you require...
Do you know you're the only...
Despite what you...
Well, at least your reputation's...
Good. Good evening, Mr.
Good evening, Dr. Reed. Any news about my
Is there anything...
Really? Why is no one else...
Unfortunately...
Perhaps you're right, Doctor.
Tell me about the doctors who are arguing about your case.
Strickland and Ackroyd.
What do you mean?
I often...
Tell me about your injury, Harvey. Why do you feel so guilty about it?
My wife died because of me. And that...
How could your job be responsible?
I was working a double. She went out to bring me...
You can't hold yourself responsible for your...
Of course I didn't hurt myself. But I can't work until my arm is fixed.
Tell me more about the death of your wife, Harvey.
1915.
What happened?
The Germans sent Zeppelins to bomb...
I'm sorry for you.
I would like to say that she didn't suffer.
How are your children after losing their mother?
They were smaller then. The only good thing about this is my Ellen didn't bring them with her that night.
Goodbye.
Oh, sweet girl.
You and our side, Dr. Reed. I know that Pembroke will prevail and survive this epidemic.
I'm quite busy right now, Doctor.
Do you need...
Don't be ridiculous.
Then you are lucky that I have taken the time to do so.
I wish this hospital could have received...
Tell me, Waverly.
Strickland is playing with his patients' lives.
Are you thinking about something in particular? Why do you...
I strongly believe that Mr. Fiddick should not be...
If you are going to lead this surgery...
I'm not the kind of man who runs away.
And are you not afraid...
Rivalry? I guess you could call it that.
Thank...
Good evening, Dr. Reed. Please show... Of course. Tomorrow... Good evening. Please... Of course. Tomorrow...
Do you need...
Well, the proximity of the dead, it...
Don't take...
And that is a...
Goodbye.
It never ceases to amaze me how you... The...
Good evening.
Evening, Dr. Reed.
Soldier.
Not really.
As long as you...
Don't think you can do much.
Good.
Fear and disgust on every street corner. The daily routine.
Jonathan, old chap.
I was conducting research in my room, away from the night.
Of course, of course. Worry not, I understand.
What news do you bring?
The news is not good, my friend.
How bad is it?
It is killing the infected patients faster. In less than 2...
Tell me more.
Jeffrey McCallum seems to have sent his war dog...
Have they come closer to the hospital?
No. They mainly focus on fallen
Have you any reliable friends in the West End?
Unfortunately, you will be alone. Except for our...
What about the...
There are only a few of us, and most others would not...
What of my commission here at Pembroke Hospital?
Nothing to fear, Jonathan. Your position here is in no jeopardy.
I have received an alarming...
Then you are twice fortunate. I have never...
Is the quarantine?
It is helping slow the propagation of the epidemic.
Why have you never...
My dear Jonathan, you have no idea how...
Thank you, Ed. Good evening.
Good evening, Doctor.
Do you need...
I'm afraid I do.
Our job brings us into contact with all kinds of infections, Milton. There's no shame in being ill while you're in a hospital.
That's easy for you.
Goodbye, Milton.
Hey,
You're lucky.
this place is full of sickness and...
Consider yourself...
Don't play the innocent with me. I'm sure you have...
I'll leave you.
Buried in a mass grave.
It's locked, all right.
Middle of a battlefield anymore.
I cannot enter.
Sometimes you act like a real jerk, you know that?
Come on, Ozzy, don't be like that.
What, like what? Like someone who felt betrayed by the man he loves? Did you ever even try to find me? Rescue me?
You know, it's not like that. I wanted to. I was so afraid to leave the hospital, not to be seen with you.
Look, we survived this shit together. That's all that matters. I know you did your best. Fuck the wall, right? And fuck them all.
Fuck the wall. Fuck them all.
beast! End to you! Mine!
Good evening,
Doctor.
Goodbye,
Get them weapons ready! We found one! Leech mine! Right to the leech, boys! Want some of this? Stupid beast!
Opium is one of the main ingredients of Strickland's medication. Never a good move.
Die, vermin! I'll send you to hell. Eat swine! Watch out! Smart.
Hello again, Mr. Blight. I'm happy to see Mr. Thatcher is safe, for now.
I'm eternally grateful, Doctor.
Why do you stay here?
It's complicated. Since the war...
Can you speak about them?
Rats, sir.
You are always welcome at the Pembroke Hospital.
I'm not giving up on bringing Oswald back to the...
Perhaps he needs to reach that decision, but...
Could you speak to him?
What can you tell me about the war, Mr. Blight? If
war was...
Did you know Oswald Thatcher?
No. We met in the battlefield.
I fought in France, too. I served.
Yeah. The first time I was wounded.
Are you concerned?
Of course I...
What kind?
I believe...
How do you feel about...
I love him. I love Oswald.
What frightens you so much?
What if people find out? Oswald says I'm a
Enjoy your love.
I appreciate your kind words, sir.
What caused your phobia?
It happened last year following an artillery attack.
Go on.
It started eating me as soon as I dozed. Gnawing at my ears.
I see.
No, you don't. You have no...
Do you need medical...
Afraid so. In the war.
Throughout history, some disease...
You're working at the Pembroke Hospital, aren't you?
Goodbye. Hello again, Mr. Thatcher. Do you feel any better now?
Yes. This neighborhood may stink of dogs.
Mr. Thatcher, do you have a job?
No. Since I came back from the war, I spent...
I understand what you mean. I was just...
No. Nobody can truly
Why were you locked in that sewer?
I went by the canal after an argument with a friend.
Tell me about your...
That's what the bloody doctor said. but I don't want to go to...
Why did you run? What was...
Newton wanted me to go to a hospital, but I can't stand it.
Oswald, why did you not go to the
I don't trust doctors. All they care about...
Your fear of being trapped is not going...
I've seen enough butchers in white coats to last a lifetime.
Are you concerned?
No.
Goodbye.
Good evening, Doc.
Tell me about your true...
I love him. I'm not ashamed to say it. He's the best thing that ever happened.
I admire...
Courage is what we needed in the trenches. Looking...
Have you always been this straightforward?
All I know is, before you saved me by the...
Why should you be...
I'm not, I said.
Do you want to talk about why you...
No, I really don't.
An irrational fear like yours...
Well, Doctor, take a guess then, if you're so interested in my case.
As a soldier...
My God, you're so wrong. Believe me.
Newton is
It makes me sad and angry. Feels...
His love for you is genuine.
Newton still has to accept it, knowing he'll be seen as a queer.
Do you need...
Don't get me wrong, sir. I'm grateful for what you've...
I'm certain you have your reasons. But let me assure you...
It is true. You're rich.
Goodbye. Good evening, Miss...
I need blood, Doctor. Warm, rich.
I have made inquiries about the men who were...
I did not expect a mortal to have this sort of courage.
It was a misunderstanding. These hunters...
I knew it. I have become undone.
If you'll accept some advice from a petty mortal...
You are right. And you have served me...
Thank you. Tell me, Thelma, what do you...
I saw one and he saw me. I watched him hunt and...
You mean you actually saw a vampire?
Yes. And it has been the answer to my pain.
You have no idea what...
Why fear the truth? String.
Tell me, Thelma. What...
I'm not sure.
Do you plan to make...
Of course not. How could I inflict my curse?
Would you say you and Mr. Elwood are romantically...
No. No, Thomas is a delicate.
Daily route.
Good evening.
Evening. Fear and disgust on every street corner.
Cosmic's came here.
Daily route.
Good evening, Dr. Strickland.
And good evening to you, Dr. Reed.
I located the
I was afraid of such bad news.
That's quite a list you ordered. Opium.
This dreadful influenza, of course.
Do you realize you could create a lethal poison without the...
Is this not true of any medical substance, Dr. Reed?
As long as you promise to be scrupulous with your...
That's all I'm asking for, Dr.
I want to know...
I know I may sound presumptuous, but I'm just...
Self-confidence is essential in our line of work, my young...
But you never doubt yourself, Dr. Reed. I've read all your articles.
You have my support, Dr. Strickland.
Thank you, Dr. Reed. You don't...
Goodbye, Doc. I can't let Strickland put his patients at risk with opium. Perhaps an adjusted formula will deliver more of a placebo effect.
Good evening. Please, of course. Good evening. Please, of course. Good evening. Please show. Of course. It's just trinkets and curios, really. But...
Down, my boy. So many deaths.
Benefit of the doubt.
Strickland's project could be dangerous. I have a mind to report him to Dr. Ackroyd. Good evening, Dr. Strickland.
And good evening to you, Doc.
I have managed to improve the mixture by diluting it. Have you ever heard of
No, I don't think so. Why?
A placebo is a substance.
You made a placebo of my project.
What? Research has established that a placebo...
Really? That's fascinating.
Something like that, yes.
Well, I'm a bit surprised, but...
Goodbye.
As for me,
But in the circumstances, I'm willing to give it.
At least Strickland can't kill anyone with this formula. It's locked, all right. It's locked.